like I've been in this field for so long. I've worked with like so many different artists, and when you start to like work so closely with people who are like praised by the entire world, it kind of makes you believe, well, like, what's the difference between me and this person?
Right.
Like, they just did the work to get to this global level, and you working right beside them, right below them. It's possible for you to be that, you know?
I'm from a beautiful place, the Pearl of Africa, hailing with a 256. It's in my blood, that's a gem where the mountains rise, with stories untold, the tapestry of cultures unfolding, so vibrant and bold, a symphony of stars, a celestial light, the drums beating, echoing through the night, just like a beacon of light, a reflection that's coming up from the Nile. I'm flowing straight into the heart of Africa with timeless stories untold. What's up, Doug?
3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome once again to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, the podcast where I'm dedicated to bring you stories of the famous people, regular people, anybody in the world that wants to come and share a story, fun, laugh together. And you know what it is. We just cover everything and just have a good time. So I'm honored today to welcome back DJ BB Bad on the podcast. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, I'm honored to have you back. I have a few of my celebrity friends out there that I look up to. I see you guys do all your thing. I'm like, that's so cool. That's so cool. So for me to get a time to sit down with you and other people on this podcast is a therapy for me to talk to people and have my listeners also enjoy stories. It's crazy because ever since I had you on the podcast, friends back home in Uganda that know you, it's crazy how Instagram works and TikTok. Because last time you were here on the podcast, you talked about how TikTok, like people from Uganda. I didn't even know that before you were here. But now, when I was doing interviews with the people back home, either dancer or DJ, they know Baby Bad. So I've had like 3 dancers. And then recently I had a DJ in Uganda, selector DJ, who was like, oh, I know her. I've seen her on Instagram. And the dancers are like, oh, yeah, I've seen her. Like, she dances and stuff. So it's crazy how my people back home, like, have connected with your work.
I love that. I love that.
And it's so cool that you're always open to coming back here and talk. Because I feel like those people who watch you on Instagram get a chance to listen to you. Not only people from my country, but even from your country, from America. So I appreciate you being back.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited.
Yeah. How has life been ever since it was 2 years ago since I last had on the podcast? It was 2 years ago.
No.
It was 2022 for sure.
No
For real.
way.
For real. It was, let me see. I could be wrong, but I'm going to check. But how has life been since then?
Oh my God. If it's been 2 years, that's insane. I mean, so much has happened since then. We need to do like a whole catch up.
Yeah.
Honestly, right now, life has been like very up and down. I just came off the tour like 2 months ago. I'm like back in LA, and it's like, you know, the artist life is so interesting because it's like you have to figure out like what the next step is, like all over again, you know?
Yeah.
So it's exciting, it's terrifying, it's like all these things all at once, but you know, here we are.
Yeah, it's actually been 1 year, so I'm sorry, it wasn't 2 years.
Okay, I was about to be like, that's impossible. Like, time cannot be flying that fast.
Yeah. No, it's been 1 year, but yeah, I'm great, and that's mainly what I'm gonna focus on. Like, there's a lot of things that have happened between that and now that it's so cool with things to revisit. And for people who are tuning in today, yeah, we had DJ BB Bad on the podcast, and she talked a lot about herself too. If you want to recap on that, it's episode. Back then, I wasn't even writing episodes on there. It's episode 135. So yeah, it's not too far.
Oh my God.
I'm at 212. So
wow.
Anyway,
congrats.
Thank you.
Going up.
I don't remember if when I had you on the podcast, I asked you where you came up with the name BB Bad. I was thinking about that when I wanted to have you back, and I don't know, I could have forgotten, but maybe it's part of refreshing.
I think you did.
Okay.
Well, we gonna do it anyway.
Okay.
So BB is my nickname. My family just like always call me that from a young age. And actually Bad, BAD is my initials, Bianca Adriana Dykhoff.
Okay.
So it just kind of worked. And then obviously like BB Bad, you know, it's supposed to sound cool. So yeah.
It is cool. It's cool and unique. You said BB Bad. And It's funny because that guy, the DJ that I hosted in here, is her name like BB something? You couldn't like figure it out, and like BB back. It's
Right.
like yeah, and
That's so funny.
no, it's like I was gonna say badass, but it's like danger. You know, I was telling somebody, well, I don't want somebody to call me like sweet names. I want you to call me like a tough name, like Machine
Like
Gun.
a tough name. Like, yeah, don't mess with me.
Don't mess with me. Somebody hears your nickname and be like, oh yeah, go easy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But yeah, part of the things you say, you went back to New York, your favorite city. What do you always call New York?
LA. I'm in LA.
Yeah, but like you visited New York at some point. Did you?
Last year,
yeah. Because right now what I'm doing, right now what I'm doing is I'm recapping on
taking us back.
Yeah,
Okay.
for taking us back. So you went to New York at some point. Actually, I saw you hook back with Holy Boy, who was from New York. By the way, I'll talk about Holy Boy right now. Holy Boy, I reached out to you. I know you recommended him to be on the podcast.
Yeah, I did.
But he's been busy though. I understand. I really understand that.
Yeah.
But at least I got a chance to talk to him, and it's really amazing. His work is amazing. I saw him on the BET when he was dancing for the video. That was super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, you went back to New York. How was that like?
Honestly, New York is just always a breath of fresh air, to be honest. Like every time I go back, I'm like, wow. It's just, I don't know if it's because I lived there for so long or like if it's just like, it's just such an energy there. Like, you know, a lot of my dance friends are still there. And like even like the work I got to do while I was there, you know, I got to DJ at this really big Caribbean event, and that was really cool, you know. So it's just something about like summertime in New York that I'm just like, wow, I miss it.
Okay. No, I definitely understand. I feel like New York for you is like Uganda for me. When I go back to Uganda, oh my God, it's like the best time of my life. I was able to go back earlier this year for my live podcast, which was my first one in Uganda. I got all my friends together and we did a live podcast there. And there's not been a lot of those. So it was really cool to catch back with my friends. I lived there for a long time before I came to the US. So I really connect with that a lot when you say that. And I saw you did some dance there and DJing and all that stuff. And it's really cool when you're home. You feel like home. You're home with all your friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You've had a busy summer from LA, June, July, and then the tour. I saw your lineup on Instagram where you summarize your June and July dates, and it was all covered up. How has that been? Like you travel, doing all that stuff, and with the tour.
With the US tour with Karol.
So actually, you had those events before the tour. I think the tour was
yeah. Oh my God, time has flown. I'm like, you bringing me back a year ago. I'm like, what are you even talking about? Because I just feel like I've just been so busy. Honestly, I mean, I love to DJ, obviously. So any opportunity I get to be able to do that, I'm like, you know, I'm just like super excited. So yeah, starting off in New York was like really just like everything I needed to like keep my spirits high, you know, and then going into the tour, obviously that was like so long, so much work, but like just like so rewarding, you know? Yeah.
I almost called you a world traveler because like I've seen you've been in Argentina, Colombia. I was trying to count all the countries you went to. Like, it's crazy. How do you even manage to do that?
So the South American tour was this year. The US tour was last year. So, which was super exciting for me because I've been to South America before, but like not to like that extent, you know, like all of those different places that I haven't been before. So honestly, I like to travel. Like, I'm not one of those people who's like finds it hard to, you know, pack my bags and get up and go. Like, I'm mad chill when it comes to like having to travel. It's just something that you have to do. You have to do it, you know? So for me, I was just like really excited to like experience new cultures, meet new people, DJ, do after parties there. I got to do a lot of after parties in South America. So that was just like insane, you know? Thinking back on it,
No, that's crazy. And I follow that on Instagram and seeing that it's a dream. I mean, I wanted to be a DJ at one point. I think I said that last time when I was on the podcast. Like, it was my dream. I wanted to be a DJ. I never got to do it, but I still love like DJs. That's why I host like DJs from Uganda, anywhere to just like see their journey and just imagine myself through their journey. So watching you do that, even in stadiums, like big stadiums where you're DJing, like, how is that experience like? Actually, I meant to ask you that, but I couldn't just ask off the post on when I saw you DJ, but like when you're in these big stadiums DJing, seeing a lot of people singing, what's that like?
I mean, I wish I could honestly put it into words. It's just insane. Like you can't even see like faces. You just see like lights. You just see
Yeah.
just seas and seas of like people. Obviously, we just can't like, I don't know. It's just it's not something that you could explain. You know, it's something that like, you know, when you go to like a big concert, like like 2 nights ago, I went to see Chris Brown, and I was like all the way at the top of the stadium, and I'm like looking down at the fact that like a year and a half ago, I was in that same arena with Karol performing. And I'm like, oh, wow, like this is the experience, but like from this point of view versus like the stage point of view, you know, which is just like, it's just like you still can't wrap your mind around the fact that like you're in front of so many people, you know?
I always think about that. One of my favorite parts when I go to concerts is just hearing the whole crowd singing. So like when you're on the stage and like hearing these people repeat the song, like thousands of people just singing, that's like give me chills. I'm like, oh yeah, I like that.
It does, yeah, it's crazy, yeah.
One time I went to what's the stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a soccer game, but there's a lot of like Latinos in the area, and they love the club. So we went for their first inauguration game, and the microphone for the lady singing the national anthem broke, so we could not hear her like at all. But the whole crowd started singing the national anthem, and it was just different. It was just different. Like you hear people singing, and then they shoot fireworks, and then they play all the songs. It was amazing. I love the vibe. I don't like a lot of people. Like I don't like being in big crowds. But when we're in stadiums, everybody has their seat. I like that. But it's a good vibe. So I always think about that when I see you DJing like in the club. It's just a vibe and just enjoying it. But not only that, you also did your first carnival in LA. It was crazy. I think it was this year. Was that this year? When you got
Carnival?
When you got to DJ on a scissor lift. Was that a carnival? What was that?
So that was last year.
That was last year? Okay.
That was last year. And this year we did it on what do you call those things? On a trailer, like on like a trailer truck, but like it wasn't a truck, it was just like the trailer. Like the guy who runs the event put the DJ booth like on top of the thing. And that's because it's like, so there's like an event, a part of Carnival called Juve.
Okay.
And that's like actually like it's a celebration of like emancipation basically. It's like, long story short, it's like back in the day, slaves used to like dress up and like put horns on and like put black oil on or whatever, and they used to do that to like scare the slave masters. And so when they got freed, that kind of like just became like a part of like a celebration of like, you know, that time that we scared like the slave masters, and it's like a celebration. So this event takes place like in the middle of the night because that's when they would have done that. So the event was like from like 11 p.m. to like 6 a.m.
Wow.
And there's people dressed up all kind of ways, you know, we're just like in the middle of the darkness, just like playing good Caribbean music and just like celebrating life. And that's like one of my favorite events in LA, to be honest, because like, you know, all the Caribbean people come out, and it's like you could just feel like it's just one of those events that like you could just feel how free people feel in a way that like you would never see that in a different environment. You know, it's like that one time every year that people just get to be like, I'm gonna do whatever I want, and like everybody's on that same wavelength. It's not like, you know, you're standing around watching people. It's just everybody's just free to like express themselves, and it's just a really cool event to be a part of. So it's
amazing because I think the Caribbean, and I think I said this last time you're on the podcast, like the Caribbeans have some collaborations with Africans, the way they party, because like in Africa is when, like here in America, like on the other side of like when you go to like a white party where white people party, it's like their party ends at like 11. And like for me, knowing Uganda or like the Africans, party doesn't start till like midnight, 11. That's when it starts.
Facts.
And like they will be there till like 6 a.m. I remember we were in Dallas and they had like it was like an African fest on Memorial Weekend. So they had a party in Dallas. We went with some friends of ours, but we would sleep the whole day, party the whole night, come back home at 6 a.m. We sleep, go back, do it again the whole weekend. And like when you hang out with like your white friends, like, oh, let's go party. At 11 p.m. everybody like, yeah, I'm gonna go home. I'm
Oh,
going home.
time to go.
It's time to go
That
home.
is so
It's like,
funny.
no, like,
It's true, yeah. Caribbean people, yeah, we love to stay out all night.
yeah. But the crazy part was like the scissor lift. Like, why that crazy part? Like, why the scissor lift? Did you even ask?
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, the reason why the DJ booth is always like so far from the people is that like a part of Juve is there's paint, there's powder, and there's water.
Okay.
So that means that like during this party, at some point, there's going to be like colorful powder being thrown all over the place. There's a water truck that's like spraying people with water.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's paint, so there's so like the DJ cannot be, you cannot be eye level with these people because then the equipment, your laptop, everything is going to get messed up. So we have to be as far away as possible to not be like in the midst of like all of that craziness. So last year, he ended up throwing this event like under a highway. And so he had to try to figure out how can we like keep the people away from the DJ booth. And I don't know how he came up with this idea, but it was insane. it was insane.
No, it was
I was
crazy.
actually really excited for like some type of like any type of extreme activity. I'm down for it. So I was like, okay, well, this is what we're doing. Let's do it.
No, that was crazy. Oh, I looked at it. I was like, was she even scared of the scissor lift? Before I started using the scissor lift, I would see people use it. I'm like, that thing is scary. And now I use it at work, and like you can go way up there. And I don't like heights very much. I mean, it depends on how far you go, but yeah, DJing up there and like feeling the vibe, it's shake. It's the one we have at work. It shakes.
Everybody's dancing, like, and the DJ booth is going like this, and you're trying to like look at your laptop and like DJ at the same time. It's just like it was crazy.
No, it is really crazy. But besides DJing, and we'll come back to DJing. There was a moment in your life that you really liked having you feature on the billboards in Times Square. I saw your dance routine. How was that like? I know it's everybody's dream. I don't think it's everybody's dream, but like for people who like that, like being on Times Square and those screens. I've had a lot of friends who have celebrated that. Like a musician, I have one of my friends who is a musician who was on the Times Square billboard. How was that like for you, that experience?
Honestly, I did not expect it. Like the job itself was like super random. My friend just hit me up like, hey, it's just this quick music video for this girl. Come true. Like, let's do this thing. So I'm like, okay, cool. Come true. And then, like as soon as she released the music video, which was like, I think a month after we shot it, it was like super quick turnaround time. And then all of a sudden I see her post like, oh, like Times Square. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I didn't know that like I was about to be featured on a billboard in Times Square. So I was definitely like, because again, same thing, like a lot of dancers, a lot of friends in the industry like had that moment. And I was like, wow, like I would love, obviously living in New York, walking around, seeing all these faces on these billboards and screens. I'm like, I would love to have that opportunity. So that was really like oh wow, like that could just happen like that, you know? And now I'm like, okay, when is the next one? When really is it gonna be like BB bad?
BB bad. Yeah, I feel like the way your life is going now, it will get there. Like I know, like from COVID, you're sharing your story, how you came from the Caribbean. And actually, speaking of that, I want to apologize for all the people from your country. The way I say your country sometimes, I've caught myself thinking about it. It's not Saint Martin, it's Saint Maarten. Like I've been saying Saint Martin. I've said that a lot. And I listened to myself the other day. I was like, oh my God, I've been saying it wrong. But it's Saint Maarten, not Saint Martin. Even the episode I did, like...
Oh, you were saying, say Martini.
Yeah, I was saying that.
Oh, so I thought it was just your accent, to be honest. I didn't even realize. I was just like, oh, that is his accent. I mean, Americans say Martine. I'm like, okay, whatever, guys. Like, it literally says Maarten, but...
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to make sure I say Saint Maarten. Oh, no, yeah. It's cool. I listened to it. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how she feels like I'm pronouncing this like that. But it's crazy because us who are not from America, we really don't take pronunciations that of a big deal because, like in Uganda, we have 42 tribes. Not everybody's going to pronounce this thing the same way.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing in the Caribbean too. Like every Caribbean island has a different accent, so it's like you can't really expect, and even Americans, like the way Americans might pronounce something. So it's like you know, you can't really expect everybody to like say something like the right way, you know?
The Americans are so strict on their pronunciation. And that's one thing that bothers me a lot. You say something in your accent. What are you saying? What are you saying? And then you have to repeat it like multiple times. That pisses me off. Like, if you know I've said like the word is close to what you know, just kind of
like you should know what I'm saying. Like figure it out. Yeah, exactly.
I'm like,
I mean, honestly, thankfully I haven't had that experience a lot. And I think it's because I live in like big cities.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like if you live in like a smaller city where like there's like a specific type of people versus like New York, for example, like everybody's from everywhere. So like you're likely to bump into people who just have like met so many different people and had so many accents in their brain that is like, oh, okay, I could understand what she's saying. But yeah, no, I hate that too.
Because I do that to other people when somebody's trying to tell me something and I understand they're saying it different. I try to understand, but the Americans will not even try. Like, I'll give an example.
They will not try.
There was a thing like carbon, like a carbon paper. Like, the Americans want you to say carbon. I'm like, I can't even roll my tongue to say the word carbon. And they make you say it again and again and again. I'm like, you know what I'm talking about.
No.
Even
right, you know what I'm trying to say.
Especially like place where I work, like I'm even pointing at it, that. But then if you don't say the way they say it, they make a big deal out of it. So yeah, I had to put that out. For people who care about pronunciations, it was my fault. So I had to fix that. But you've maintained your red hair. It's a signature, and you've stayed with it. Actually, I think you've not even changed. You changed the color ever since, because I know in COVID you changed a little bit to try something else. But
I did during COVID. But actually, since the last time we spoke, it is darker now.
Okay.
It was a brighter red when we spoke, I think, and now I'm kind of like going into like this phase of like a more like calm, darker red.
But because I'm saying that because I saw something somewhere on your Instagram, I think it was a photo shoot that you did, and like where they were saying like red is not just a color, it's an attitude that sets the stage on fire. It was a caption like that.
I love that.
That was pretty cool. It's a meaning behind that. So I think I was talking to somebody, I was like, yeah, some people make choices to define themselves through, because I've talked to people who have like tattoos and stuff. And there's some people who are against tattoos. So I'm like, I'm not judging people for what they do. They have a reason why they're doing what they're doing. So if somebody has a reason, I'm doing my hair red because it means this for me. It is what it is. You know, we're all okay to do whatever you want. So
even though I think when we spoke last time, I don't know if you brought this up, but like, because I think you might have asked me about the red hair, but it's like that was never intentional. Okay. Like I didn't do red for like any particular reason, you know. It was just like, it was just to express myself in a certain way.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just became my brand along the way. Like people started to identify me as like, oh, that's the dancer with the red hair, you know, versus like me being like, oh, I want to have red hair so I can like stand out, for example. You know, like that was never like the idea in my mind. But now it's like, even moving to LA, like people will be like, I feel like I know you. Like, you used to live in New York? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, I recognize you because of the red hair. And I'm like, wow, that was a long time ago. But like, it still sticks with people, you know? So, yeah.
When I read that, I was like, yeah, that makes sense, because you do a lot with stage, and the work you do needs to bring energy, whether you're dancing or whether you're DJing. Because when I was talking to that DJ, I was like these DJs, you set the party. Like, you set the party. You're actually in control of people's mood in the party there. Like, the DJ will. But also, this one goes the other way. I was telling my DJ friend that the people themselves too need to show that energy back. Because as a DJ, I'm not a DJ, but this is what I feel. When you're DJing and people are just sitting down, it kind of puts off bad vibes from the DJ, brings their energy down. But when they see people out there having fun, the DJ gets motivated to just even give you more.
Yeah, you know? Yeah, 100%. Like, that's why, like, even, like, I have some cities that were, like, my favorite places to play in South America versus others, just because of, like, the energy that people gave me in return. Yeah. You know? Like, it's not just about, like, the DJ doing the job and making everybody dance. It's, like, it's about that energy that you give back to the DJ that just, like, just gives so much more life to the party. Like, when people are really having fun and enjoying themselves and like just screaming and singing the songs and like giving that energy back to you, it's like, it makes you want to like just like keep going and doing even better versus like when people are standing around. Sometimes, I mean, people might be standing around for multiple reasons, you know, and it might not even have anything to do with the music that you play, and it's just like the vibe, you know, but it doesn't motivate you to like want to like, yes and no, it could motivate you to be like, oh, like let me find something that would like make them move. But then when you realize you kind of tried everything and they still kind of just like on a chill vibe, it's like, okay, I guess that's just like, you know, this particular city or these particular people or this particular club, you know.
Have you ever, now I talked about, I don't want to make this a race thing, but like I talked about the white people party. Have you ever played at a white people like a party? I want to know, what's your experience like, and how is that different? Because I've been to like...
That sounds so wrong.
If you don't want to answer it, I'll cut it out. But
no, it's fine. It's fine. It's really funny. But I have this past New Year, like going into 2024, I was hired for a gig back home in St. Maarten, and it was like at this, I don't want to call it bougie, but like it was a party that I knew would have been like 99% tourists and 99% white tourists. You know, these are like people who come in to like spend mad money, have bottles. It's more like a family oriented type of party where there's the adults, there's the teen kids or whatever. So it was very white. And my vibe coming in, I already knew like, you know, this is not gonna be like top 50 charts music. Like this was gonna be like house, you know, house, EDM, like techno type vibe, which was actually really fun because like the I keep calling them kids, but they're like teens. Obviously, they could get into the place, so they were like young teens. They had vibe with the music, you know. I was like, wow, like I prepped myself in advance because I knew that would have been the vibe. But yeah, it was obviously very different from like, you know, playing for like Caribbean people or like Latinos, you know. It was interesting.
No, and I really appreciate some people who have actually picked up the Afrobeats. There's some people like the white community who are really into like Afrobeats and they really like that. I've seen them on TikTok, people doing challenges and dancing and picking up the
whole
dances,
world.
So,
I mean, Afrobeats is global. Right. Afrobeats is global right now. Like Africa has taken over like the world. You could be anywhere in the world right now. There's Asians, there's white people, there's all type of people jumping on this wave, trying to understand the moves and what a song's saying, you know?
Yeah. I'm a piano.
I think it's cool.
Too.
Yeah.
That's been great. But yeah, Afrobeat has been cool. And to see how Nigeria has broken through the US, like you'll be chilling down and listen to, and I've been telling this to my African friends back home. I've had a few artists on the podcast, and one of the Uganda's greatest artists who was on my podcast the other day, Ep212, was talking about his album and talking about the challenges why our own music in Uganda is not spreading very well, because these guys Nigerians have put their music to another level. Because you be in America and you listen to a Burna Boy song, Davido, Wizkid, and they play on the radio. But we're talking about how hard it is to like break through. Because even in Uganda, even right now, if you go to top 100 Ugandan song on Apple Music,
it's Nigeria.
The first 10 are like Afrobeats Nigeria. Like that's like that everywhere. So I think they've marketed their songs very well, and people have just picked interest in it.
100%. And a lot of artists from other places around the world are like, their goal is to tap into the US market. So what does that mean? Like Afrobeats is like Afro pop. You know, like how can we include elements of like pop music? How can we include elements of things that could cross over to the US and sound like something that people in the US already listen to? So that's really what it is. Yeah. You know, at least that's what it was like. Yeah, that's kind of like how I feel like it is. Even like with Wizkid, for example, like his music to me is given like Afro contemporary. It's given like Afro R&B.
Right.
You know, he's including elements of Afro beats, but he's trying to go down this R&B wave, which would make it more relatable to a US market.
Right.
Not saying that he's doing it only for that reason. I'm sure he's just exploring his artistry, but as a result, you know, it's connected to like the US market, which is like, you know, where everybody wants to make it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. But it's funny because you spend most of your time, no, I won't say most of your time because you do DJing and stuff, but like when you're on tour or when you're doing your job, you do a lot of like Latin music. And I saw somewhere that sometimes you think you're Latino. I think I saw it on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
What made you say that?
Obviously, like being on tour with like Karol, a Spanish-speaking artist, being in Spanish-speaking countries, at the after parties, only playing reggaeton. Like, even everybody who works for Karol, most of them were Latinas. So it's like just surrounded by the language, the culture, the people. Like, I learned so much Spanish. Like, I could understand Spanish now way more than I could have before I started working for her. Yeah. And like, even though I'm still learning how to like speak, but I could understand. I love the music, so I just like feel like I'm just like a part of it, when I get hired, even up to today is like, people hire me for reggaeton parties and I'm like, I don't even speak the language, but like, here we go,
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And I think it comes with a plus too, because you now have a variety of like, even if I believe like, even if somebody had like a Latino party, they'll consider to hire you because like, oh, she knows the music. She knows what she's going to give us. But not only that, even like Afrobeat, they'll bring you for Afrobeat because of the work and being, what they call it, like not specializing, but like doing
open format.
Open format, yeah. So like being open format is really good. Like it puts you out there and open for anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But you had another line. I don't know where I saw this, but like, why worship? It says, why worship legends when you can be one? I think you put a caption on some. I really love captions, and sometimes when people post stuff on Instagram, my first thing is go to the caption, because sometimes caption holds more meaning than the actual post itself.
Yeah.
But I like that, and for me, I looked at it as like, yeah, I can actually be my own legend. Like I can make myself into this. And when I saw that stuck out to me, and I wanted to ask you on how that meant to you when you thought about that.
Why worship legends when you could be one? I mean, it's like when you, like, I've been in this field for so long. I've worked with like so many different artists. And when you start to like work so closely with people who are like praised by the entire world, it kind of makes you believe, well, like, what's the difference between me and this person? Right. Like, they just did the work to get to this global level, and you working right beside them, right below them. It's possible for you to be that, It's possible for people to already look at you in that light, and all it takes is like continuing to do that work and do what you love and getting yourself out there and meeting the right people to become a legend for somebody else, and like, I just never been the type of person to like look at a celebrity and be like, oh my God, like, I'm just like, oh, like, that's this person and I get to work with them. How cool is that? So why can't I be that for somebody else?
Yeah, actually, I remember last time when I asked you if you were starstruck when you met Davido or Chris Brown, and it's funny because you gave the same answer, and it's like it wasn't starstruck per se, but like it was kind of the similar answer you were saying. Like I don't know how I would actually, but I like your approach to that, because it's what makes them different than me. Yeah, they have this platform or they do that, and I consider myself like, yeah, I can be like him, or I can even be better than him at some point.
Right, exactly.
So that's how I look at it. Do you know a female DJ called DJ Ayani? Ayani, I think.
Yeah, I see her on Instagram a lot.
Have you ever met her?
No.
Yeah, so I started listening to her mixes too. One thing, I don't know, back home in my country, there was a big deal about female DJs. Like, people did not like them.
They did not like them.
Yeah. So there was a big thing about female DJs. People did not like them. They didn't think they're doing a good job. They always thought DJing was for men. But I mean, for many reasons, I think there was a time where a lot of girls in Uganda were going into DJing. Everybody, and people were like, "Oh, so everybody's just getting up a laptop and start mixing." Because I mean, the one guy was saying it was the season of Amapiano, when Amapiano came and Afrobeat came, so it was easy. You just put out any Amapiano song and people are gonna dance. So then people would think like it's a DJ. But I really liked female DJs because I grew up seeing male DJs, but like what they bring out on YouTube, I actually watch a lot of other female DJs and mixes, and we have now some female DJs in Uganda who are really, really great. So I found DJ Ayani on YouTube, actually on Instagram too. I think she's from France.
Yeah.
And I like her mixes because she does all that. But she did a trip to Uganda. And I don't know if you saw that cool. on YouTube, on her YouTube. She went and did like a mix in Uganda with some dancing group in Uganda. I think there was...
Yeah, okay, yeah, I saw it. It's like a bunch of kids, right?
Yeah, it was a bunch of kids around there. So she did that in Uganda. And that was amazing. It was really cool. Because like I followed her and I don't know how she ended up in Uganda, who connected her there. But I was like, yeah, that's cool. So I'm going to pray that Baby Bad will go to Uganda and just do like a mix like that.
I would love that. I would love that. We're working on it. We're working on it.
That'd be really cool. But no, yeah, I love the work that you guys do, and I would change that narrative in Uganda, but because people are thinking like DJing is only for men, but no, women can do it, and they can actually do a really, really good job.
I think that's the cool thing about social media is like, even for me, like when I started DJing, I didn't have any examples to really be like, oh, this female DJ, that female DJ. Is only with the rise of female DJs on social media that people are starting to see like, oh, wow, like these girls actually exist and some of them are actually good, you know? So I think it's great. Yeah. Like even like I have so many friends now that are like, oh, I want to learn, you know, and it's like you get to inspire people in those small ways, like just by pursuing something in a way that people haven't seen it before. All of a sudden, oh, if she could do that, maybe I could do it. Right. You know? Yeah. And that's super cool. Like that's the best part of like anything I do is like, who are you inspiring to like step out of the box of like what they think that they were capable of, you know?
And I like that a lot because that's why I even started the podcast, because growing up in Uganda, I had never seen anybody. I'd never been on a plane. I wanted to be like an aircraft pilot or mechanic, but I didn't have anybody I knew. I'd even never been on a plane. There was only one guy that I knew in Uganda, but to get to him was really hard. Like, it's like getting to the president. So when I was able to achieve that, I was like, you know what? I need to start this platform where I can talk to these people about this thing. You can do this. You can do that. This is how I did it. And when I finished on my whole story, then I started bringing these different people around the world that are doing different things. And they just come here, talk about how they're doing it when they did it. So probably maybe a kid down there who can't find a female DJ will land on this podcast and was like, oh yeah, there was this female DJ. This is how she did it. This is what she does. And with your goal to inspire another kid and my platform being there, we both like connect to somebody who's going to listen to it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I saw your choreography on the song Sensational. I like that song. I like that song because it's funny. My friends will ask me, how are you feeling? And my answer is sensational. That made me laugh. That song. Hey, Bunny, how you feeling? Sensational. And that's my answer to like everything. Anytime someone asks me how you feeling, sensational. Even if you're going through something, it's just funny for me.
But, right, like I'm having a bad day, but I'm sensational.
Sensational. How you feel? And like it's the way the song says, how you feeling? Sensational. And so that's my response. But yeah, you've been dancing, and I think that's one of your choreography. Did you come up with a choreography for that dance that you put out for the song?
No, actually, so that was a class that I attended. Yeah.
That was cool. Yeah. So do you do class too, or do you teach, or you also like just go and take classes?
I do not teach in LA. Okay. I used to teach a lot in New York, which I actually really do miss. But because I haven't, I moved to LA 2 years ago, but really and truly I haven't been around. Like if I count the amount of time that I've been gone on tour, it's almost equivalent to 1 year. Yeah. You know? So it's like, even though I've been here, I haven't really been here. And so I haven't really like made that many connections yet to be like, to like offer that service, I feel, you know?
Yeah.
To like offer, like to be able to teach. But also I'm just also in this mode of like wanting to like take in as much as possible and continue to train, because that's something that like I wasn't able to do on tour, and that wasn't something I was able to do while I was like home during the pandemic, you know? So like now it's like refueling my creativity and like, just getting new ideas and for when that moment comes again.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I also like how you collaborate with a lot of people. Like I feel like each dance you find a new person in your Instagram videos. Like, I'm like, where did you find all these dancers? And like, you just like to
Oh God,
collaborate.
there's dancers everywhere,
Yeah.
especially in Los Angeles.
Yeah. No, that's cool to see. I was going to talk about you did a YouTube mix in front of a volcano in Guatemala. That was crazy. Like, when we think about volcanoes, especially like the ones in Costa Rica, you went to Costa Rica too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you went. But yeah, tell me about who gave you the idea and how was the experience like sitting there?
Honestly, so I bought this like mini mixer and I took it with me to South America to be able to like practice. And then I was like, oh my God, it would be such a cool idea to like try to take a video in every city at like some type of monument that was like a representation of the city. And so, which was way harder than said to do. So that was an adventure. Like, me and my friends, we planned, okay, we want to go to this volcano. So cool, let's do it. So I have a backpack with my laptop, my headphones, my mini mixer, riding a horse, going up a hill, trying to enjoy, the scenery as much as possible while I have all this heavy stuff in my bag. I get up to this view of this nice volcano and I'm like, okay, let's do this, and obviously like it's crazy because there's like so many other people around. They're trying to take pictures. They're trying to just be in the moment. And here I am trying to like, I was mixing on the spot, by the way. Like that was not like a pre-recorded set. Like that was like me mixing on the spot in the sun. Can't even see like, like on the mixer the pads light up so you could kind of see what's going on. And that was that. And I was like, wow, that was a lot of work to just do a quick mashup in front of a volcano, but it was epic. Like, and then it's cool because one of the girls who was a part of the band, she is like a professional videographer, and that was a phone that we used to film that, but it was just epic. Like she just killed that, and I was like, wow, this is great. Let me try to do it again. But it's hard. That was hard. Like you're trying to hike and you have all this heavy stuff in your bag. I was like, I don't know if I could keep up with this, but we did it.
No, it was really dope, and I saw it. I think it sticks out when you see that there's a lot of things to focus on. How is she mixing that, and like the cool volcano back there? How did she do it? Like, how did she get the idea and like doing all that? It's really crazy, but it came out really good. And I really loved it. So I wanted to ask you about it. I really did. And there was another mix you did. I think you put out, it wasn't a piano mix. I don't know where you were, but you put it up on YouTube. I don't know where you did it from. And I remember when you went live on YouTube, I watched it firsthand, but I don't remember where you got it from. You showed it out, but it was a piano and Afrobeat mix.
Oh yeah, that was in LA. Okay. Like it was like a view of like a beach and like hills and stuff. Yeah, that was in LA. Okay. That was, I think that was actually like a year ago. Like maybe like September time right now, like in my mind, because of like so much that I've done. Yeah. Like my mind when it comes to time and like when things happened, I'm like so like I
think you need to add another thing on your Instagram bio that says world traveler.
Yeah, right.
I bet your passport has all the stamps from the Europe.
Oh my God, that was the best part. Traveling and everywhere we go, no stamp. I'm like, yay!
Yeah, that's always cool. Is the junkyard different from all the other Carnival and what's the other one we talked about? Is it different? I saw you did the junkyard party.
So junkyard Juve is what I was talking about. Okay. So that's a part of Carnival. Because I think that's what you was referring to. Yeah. Carnival is like an event that happens in like multiple islands in the Caribbean. Okay. And then Juve is a part of that. Okay. So that's the event that would happen in the middle of the night going into the morning. Okay. A junkyard Juve. Like he just like branded it that way as junkyard Juve because we basically do it in a place that might look like a junkyard, like it's just an open empty parking lot and we just getting dirty and wild, so it's like junkyard Juve. But yeah, I
think DJing is the coolest job ever. I would go ahead and say that because when you really love DJing, like that's what Selector Jeff was here on the podcast saying. He doesn't even look at it as a job because he's enjoying. And he was telling a story how one time he forgot to get paid because he had so much fun.
That is hilarious.
He forgot to get paid because he was part of the party and he had so much fun that he forgot to ask for his money.
That happens. That happens. I have left venues. I have realized a month later I haven't been paid for something, and that's so bad. But it's true. Like, you show up and you're just in the moment and you're just having so much fun that it's like, you're like, great, that was great. Now let's go home. And then you're like, oh wait, did I get paid for that?
Yeah. No, that's crazy. When he said that, it was funny, but I can relate, and it's cool because you are enjoying it. And I think some other person was saying a quote, but these people work in different. He was saying, the person who came up with the quote that says, "If you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life." And there's a quote like that, and he was like, "That's motherfucking bullshit," because he said, "It's still work. We're working."
It is still work. It is still work, and that's the thing. Like DJing is the moment that you get to show up and perform in front of other people and like provide a service. But it's like all the work that it takes to get there first is the work.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does feel like work. Sometimes you don't want to download music. Sometimes you don't want to practice. Sometimes you don't want to, like, you know, invest money in equipment to like be able to do whatever the next project requires you to do, you know. So sometimes those things couldn't feel like, you know, the less fun part, you know, or like sometimes, you know, if you show up and you're sick or you're tired or whatever the case may be, like you still have to like fulfill that service. And so I get what he's saying. It's like, if it doesn't feel like it's work, but like there will be moments when it feels like work,
right? Yeah,
if you're trying to elevate, you know.
Now, the other question I want to ask you is, when you go to these places to play or gigs, do they ask you for the music that you want, or you just kind of get the demographic of that place and come up with your own music you want to play there?
Usually they ask, and if they don't send a particular request, I will ask, because the last thing I want to do is show up and they're like, oh, well, this is like a EDM club. And I'm like, well, I was not prepared for that. Right. You know, like obviously always be prepared if you're going to consider yourself an open format DJ. But 9 times out of 10, when the club is hiring you, they're hiring you for like a particular event where it's either, you know, Afrobeats, dancehall, open format, reggaeton, whatever it might be. Like they will usually specify, because they don't want you to show up there and start playing something that like nobody knows, you know?
On the second last question I'm going to ask, actually not the second last question, but something I'm going to talk about was you guys did a video of the 2000s dancehall videos. I was big into dancehall when I was in those 2000s, and it was really cool. The music itself, and like the dance moves that you guys were pulling, was like really pulling off those Jamaican dancehall like vibe, and it was really dope. Who came up with the idea of doing that?
So actually, there's a videographer in LA who's I think he's like one of his parents are Jamaican or something, and so he reached out to one of the dancers here who's also Jamaican, and he was like, hey, I want to shoot a video for the dancehall community in LA, and there's only but so many of us, you know. So he reached out to us, he got us all together, and we came up with everything literally on the spot. Like all that happened like the day of, and this guy had like crazy equipment. Like the camera was attached to the side of his truck, he was moving with the truck and the camera. Like it was like a whole insane project. And he just kind of reached out because he was like, I feel like the dancehall community like needs something like this. And yeah, it kind of went viral, you know, like it was just like a vibe. Everybody was like, oh, like this is a vibe.
It was a vibe. Yeah. Is that the same video you shared on the 60-second independence of Jamaica, or was that different?
Yeah, so that was like the part that we posted on the Jamaica Independence Day was like the first half of the video that we posted. Yeah.
No, that was dope. That was really cool. Anyway, it's always interesting to just visit your work and just see you tell us stories on how you do the things, because I know for sure, like I host a lot of people from my country, and when I host somebody who is not from Uganda, I want to ask these questions for somebody who can see your Instagram and wonder how you did what you do or how you do what you do. So most of the questions that I ask for the behalf of my people who are going to listen to this later, and maybe you can inspire them and they look up to you and they look up to what you do. So I'm really honored and thankful that you always get time to just sit down and chat. It still holds a lot of meaning. I know I mentioned last time like how honored I was to have you on the podcast and how you make it so easy, like never brag, never say, oh, you don't have this, or you do this, or you have only these followers,
No.
or you don't have the best videos, or you don't have the, you know, like people will look at your podcast and it's like, you only have like 700 people, whatever, but like you never look at that. You're always ready to go as long as you have time.
Of course. Yeah. Even if it's, listen, like what you're doing this for like a really good purpose, you know, like you hope to even inspire at least one person.
Right.
And it only takes one person to inspire one person.
That's
and it's
true.
like, if you do that, like your job is done. So it's like, it doesn't matter if you had like one follower. It's like, even if I get to inspire you, or even if you say something that could inspire me, like it goes both ways, you know, because we all have our stories. So
it's true. It's true.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It's a blessing any moment to be able to share your story, especially if you have the purpose in mind of wanting to inspire somebody else, you know?
You know what's funny? Is your sister still doing a podcast? Because that's the first time I saw you on their podcast years back. They hosted you, and it was just. Is she still doing that?
No, she's not. That was a moment in time that they had, and that's over. But I told her the other day, I told her the same thing that we're talking about now, which is like, you know, like you would never know. Like, cause I told her you should start a podcast, and she was like, "Oh, but like, you know, there's so many people online that already would like talk about the things that I would talk about." And I'm like, "Yeah, but not the way that you would say it, and not for the people who you would be able to reach." You know, somebody back home in St. Maarten probably wants to hear the way that somebody from St. Maarten would articulate this information. You know, so it's like we shouldn't underestimate the value of our voices and the power that we have to impact our communities. You know.
That's definitely true, and I'm glad you say that, because I know there's a lot of people who there's millions and millions of podcasts.
So many
right
people,
now. Like, but there's uniqueness in each and every
exactly.
And there's a lot of people. If there's millions of podcasts, there's millions of people. So we all can't finish unless we have a podcast for each person in the world. Then we'll say, okay, everybody has a podcast. We won't be able to do it, but as long as there are people who don't have podcasts or they don't have access to them. We can never finish that, like unless the whole world, each person has a podcast, you know. But
right, so, and then it's like, what is everybody talking about?
Exactly.
You know.
But and on that note, I want to end it with you going back to the island, St. Maarten, and talking to the youth from St. Maarten. I saw that on Instagram. It stuck out to me, and it's not the first time you're doing it. You've done it before, even before I hosted you on the podcast. I remember you went back and did that. What does that mean to you when you get a chance to go back and talk to these youth and share stories?
Honestly, I'm already emotional thinking about it. That was such a special moment. What was special about it is that they actually awarded me Person of the Year, 2023. Person of the Year 2023. And before I went in to speak to them, they made a post like a week prior with my picture, and they did like this whole article on me, and like the wording, like the way that they put together this article, like expressing like how I've inspired them, like what I've done for the community. I literally was like in tears, like shaking, like, oh my God, like I can't believe that like what I wanted to do the most is like happening, you know, like the way that I want to be able to inspire people. Like they just put that into words, like she is an inspiration. She's a positive inspiration. She's somebody that we should look up to from the island. So it's like, that was really like heartfelt. So then before when I got in to speak to them, I instantly like broke down into tears, because I was like, they probably don't even realize like how special that moment was for me. You know, like some of them coming from the same high school I was in, you know, like imagining myself 10 years ago sitting in that seat looking at somebody that I was inspired by, and like now being that person. Like it was just like a reminder, you know, because like we just get caught up doing whatever we do. Like every day you're trying to take a step further into your career to elevate, right? So like you don't really take the time to realize like how far you've come sometimes, until somebody else says like, hey, like you inspired me, like you did this, and I remember you did this, and I saw this, and now I want to do this and be this, you know? So like that was really a moment to be like, girl, like you feel like you have such a long way to go, but you are already doing exactly what you wanted to do, which is inspire the youth of St. Maarten to pursue whatever they want to do and know that it's possible, you know? So yeah, I was very emotional that day. They were all looking at me like, girl, like, okay. But it was really special. It's something that I don't think I would ever forget, to be honest.
That's one thing I like about you and other people that do that. Like when you get to where you are, you never forget where you came from. A lot of people, when they become famous, they get a little bit of status They don't want to know what happened in their past. They're just moving on. But for you to step back and remember that there's kids there that look up to you, and that's one thing I always try to remember, like wherever I go, wherever life takes me, I need to remember that there are a lot of kids that maybe look up to you and they could use your words. They don't have people they look up to. Like I'm sure there's a lot of kids who grew up in St. Martin that they know you, but they don't know other celebrities, other people. And through you, they can learn a lot. And I like it when I see people message me on the podcast, like, thank you for bringing these stories. They've changed my life, and I share those all the time, and it's really meaningful. So, and I extend those thanks back to you, people who like to. I invite you. Hey, you want to come on the podcast? Yeah, I'll come talk, and it's meaning a lot, and it means a lot to me. So, I want to thank you for that, and thanks for doing that for the people back home in St. Martin. And yeah, shout out to everybody there. So we're coming close to the end of this recording. I only asked for one hour, keep you here, but I'm going to ask you the questions I usually ask people on the podcast. One of it is, what's a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
You always ask me something in the end that I'm like, okay, I need some time to think about it. A life lesson that I've learned like so far. Right now, I would say this is a constant thing with me. Like, it doesn't matter like how far you stray from yourself. If you like, let me think about how to word this. Because like recently being back in LA, like I told you, like it's kind of been a little hard, it's been a little hard, like thinking about like what's next, what job is next, what do I do to like elevate my brand, like what do I do to like be able to continue working. And so it's been a little difficult, it's just this period of like trying to like figure things out all over again. And I've been having anxiety, I haven't been feeling my best. And then I'm reminded like to pray, like to call on God, to like ask for, during this difficult time, to like ask for the patience, to ask to like see the light at the end of the tunnel, to ask to stay positive. So if there's a life lesson that I'm learning now, is like, don't forget to call on God. Don't forget to like, read whatever you need to read, or listen to whatever you need to listen to, or like take that time for yourself, like that inner self-reflection point to like find your peace in the midst of when things are not going your way. And I think that's like huge for me right now, because like this past week of just like putting that pressure, like releasing that pressure and like putting it onto God and being like, God, like you help me handle this, has made me feel 10 times better already, And so it's like, it doesn't matter like what you're going through, or like how far you feel like you've like strayed away from like God, or like praying, or like taking that moment for yourself. Like as soon as you stop and remind yourself like, hey, I need to do this, like God is right there. That is my personal experience.
That's true, and that's hard. Like that's definitely a good one. What gets you excited about life?
I feel like you asked me this last time. Did you?
Yeah, I did. Those were the final questions.
Excited about life. Honestly, it's always going to be the same thing. And I love that you asked me this question, because it always brings me back to like my why, which is very important. Like, why do you do what you do? I think what gets me excited is obviously like thinking about my future and imagining myself on big stages, entertaining people, like just watching people be so happy and like just joyful, like dancing and listening to music. But like bigger than that is like, again, the impact that it would have on people who see you like pursue your dreams, like the impact on people being able to like hear my voice and share something that would change their life in a positive way. I think like, if that's why I want to be remembered for, like literally only like Bianca was somebody that inspired me to like strive for more in life and do better. And she was somebody who helped me believe that it was actually possible to do whatever it is that like I want to do. Yeah. And I think that that's all I really, really care about at the end of the day.
That's awesome. That's amazing. The final question is, who would you like to see on this podcast next? Are you gonna help us?
I know. I need to give you somebody who's actually going to take the time to do this, because let me think. Honestly, I would say my manager, Steven.
Okay.
So I have a manager. His name is Steven. He's a manager, but he's also creative.
Okay.
So he does film, he does directing, he does makeup. He's just like a creative through and through. But like he's somebody who really helped me from last year to this year, like elevate my brand, like think outside of the box. Just like he just helped me so much, and I feel like he would be somebody who would definitely be able to share a lot of insightful and good information for the people on who listen to your podcast.
That would be amazing, and yeah, we'll talk to him. And I don't take it as bad if like a person will recommend fasting work. There are people who have said no, and that's for good reason probably. Because if somebody wants, they'll probably say yes, and you can't force somebody to talk. You know, it always has to come from within. So when they said no, it's still like I don't take it as a bad thing. I really
you know what
that.
I actually realized though is that a lot of times a lot of people don't like to do interviews. Like people get nervous.
Yeah.
You know, like some people have never like spoken on interviews before, like radio, TV, like whatever, like Zoom, like, so that could be a huge part of it
and
too.
that's what I tell my people. I tell my guests. This is why I'm trying to switch. I was those people. I was scared of interviews. Like you can't invite me on TV. Now I have my own podcast to do that. But like what I'm doing different, because I know those fears, I used to have them, is I don't call even this an interview. It's a conversation, because I want to talk to people. So like I never told you what I was going to ask you about. It's things that you have done. It's things that you're going to talk about. Like, hey, talk about the story of this cool thing. And like if somebody doesn't know what we're talking about, or like, I explain it to them. And like, I say on Instagram you posted this. So if somebody wants that, they will go find it. But in my podcast that I do, it's always just conversation. Like I want to talk to you, I want to have a conversation with you, and sometimes I'll talk back from what you just said and ask you another question from that. It's not like I don't want to have a script that I might have like pointers of things that I want to ask her about, but it's not like ask her about this or like what is this. It's not like something you need to prepare for. So yeah, I get it that people might be scared, but that's why I do it different. Maybe when some people watch it, they'll be like, oh yeah, I can do that, or like I can talk about that, because the conversation is just so natural. Like that's what it is, you know. It's not. But right, yeah,
exactly.
Hopefully we'll get him on the podcast, Steve.
Yes.
But thank you very much for being on the podcast. I always appreciate having you. Maybe now I have to wait for another year, 2025.
I know, I was just about to say, now we need to wait 2025 to do another one.
Yeah, until you win the Grammy, and then we'll show up your Grammys. Like, I remember her. I don't know podcast.
And I'll still come on your podcast after the Grammy.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you too. Thank you.
All right, have a good. I know you have a party today that you're gonna. I saw a post today. It was later today. I saw that. I saw it, and I was trying to calculate when am I gonna be done with the podcast. So she's gonna have to go to this.
No. You're good.
All right. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey there, my name is Bonnie Chibuka, the podcast host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Also, leave a feedback on this podcast, because that's how we grow. Thank you very much and be blessed.